Welcome everyone. I'm Suzanne Allstat. I am the administrative co-chair of the FACT group, the Faculty Administrator Collaboration Team. I'm with the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, where I'm the director of the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs. And with me here today is my faculty co-chair, Dr. Stephen Post, and a number of my FACT team members. And we're really excited to have you guys here today and hope that we can have some interesting conversations and lead us in some interesting new directions. Next slide, please. So here's what we do. This is a very brief synopsis of our mission here. We bring together a faculty and administrative institutional rep, and we work together to support successful research operations and reduce administrative workload associated with that federally funded research. Next slide. So here are our current participating institutions. You can see the faculty reps and the admin reps broken out. Our current membership includes all of the institutions represented here. Next slide, please. So here's how we're going to set things up, and we actually may move quicker through these first two. We only have an hour today because of some scheduling issues. So we're going to go through the little intro. We're going to talk about our current thought exchange project, and then we're going to move you into the discussion rooms that Lily mentioned earlier. And we're going to break you into groups that discuss increased understanding and education, increased interactions and reaching out, and then improving processes and timeliness. And then we're going to come back together after the breakout rooms are finished, and we're going to do some reporting in and talk about our next steps. Next slide, please. All right, so we started this exchange. Moses and Lily, there's quite a few people in the waiting room. If somebody could hop over there and let them in, please. There we go, thank you. So we started this exchange back in March. We started with our own group, moved to a little bigger group, and then opened it up into the entire FDP membership. And our thought was, what one action could you personally take to improve the overall research faculty administrator relationship at your institution? Next slide, please. We had 102 people participate. They contributed 120 thoughts, and we had almost 2,000 ratings of those thoughts. Next slide. As with the last exchange that FACT completed, the respondents were overwhelmingly administrators with 71%, faculty was 19%, and we were very happy to see the technical reps number bumped up a little bit to a nice 10%. Last time we only had maybe 2. So we're very happy to have those extra opinions in here. So our next question, we wanted to know the quality of the current interaction between faculty and research administrators at each person's home institution. Only one person said it was completely unacceptable. A few said it was poor. The majority said good or satisfactory. And then we had those outliers who just think it's fantastic and excellent. Next slide. So here are a few key thoughts. We had some, even though we asked for specific actions, and we're going to focus on that when we get into our breakout rooms, so some of the thoughts were more broad, but they all were very important. And they focused on some topics that are near and dear to all of our hearts, such as getting faculty to meet the right people, improving our communication, giving timely and correct information to everybody, reaching out to everybody, that being both research administrators to build relationships and reaching out to faculty members, and also being transparent. Next slide. So out of all of the thoughts that we got and all the ratings that we got, we put together these 3 areas. So I mentioned these earlier on. We've got increased interaction and reaching out. The reaching out term was used over and over and over again as something very specific that people could do to increased communication and interaction between faculty and researchers, faculty and administrators. Increase understanding and appreciation, and then improve processes and timeliness. Next slide. All right, so these get into some interesting combinations of ideas and overlaps. So you can see that everybody who rated unacceptable basically didn't really contribute a thought. As Steve, if you want to hop on and talk about how this progresses, especially in that top question with the increasing interaction and reaching out, please feel free.
Okay, so I thought it was interesting to see how there's sort of a progression here from satisfactory and lower ranked, thinking that increasing interactions were very important. And as you moved up to mostly good, it was really about honing the processes, improving processes and timeliness. So, I mean, when we think about the respondents who think their processes aren't working, and maybe they don't even know their processes, up to those who are thinking how to make them better.
Okay. All right, did you want to talk about that one as well?
Okay, so this then gives you the star ratings of how people who thought that their interactions were poor, satisfactory versus those who thought good and excellent. And again, you can see the preponderance of focus on or emphasis on the importance of increasing interactions or reaching out to make interactions, as well as understanding and what each other do and appreciating what each other do for improvement for those that think less of their research interactions at their institution, with a more emphasis on improving processes and timeliness as being important at those who thought their institutions were already pretty good.
Good. Thanks. All right, so here are a few of the thoughts that fell into each one of those buckets, if you will. So under increasing interaction and reaching out, you can see that reach out, that phrase keeps popping up. Proactively reach out, even getting better acquainted with research administration staff. I won't read all of these to you. You'll talk a little bit more about each of these in your breakout room. Next slide. Increasing understanding and appreciation, helping new faculty meet the right people, connecting with faculty about their work, attending faculty forums, making sure that all expectations are clearly communicated, and department level training were all considered very important thoughts within this category. Next slide. All right, improving processes and timeliness. Give accurate and timely information to everybody so that everybody knows what is going on and when it's expected. Timely feedback, looking at current methods and content of information provided, and providing a means of feedback. And that feedback can go both ways between the faculty and the administrators. Next slide. Okay, so here are the scenarios that we're going to go through. We're going to have breakout rooms, 2 each for each of these scenarios. So our first one focuses on a faculty member at an emerging research institution that only has central offices as sponsored programs, so nobody in the department to help. And this faculty member wants to get their research project funded. What do they need to do and how do they get it?
Hey, Suzanne, before we go on about the breakout rooms, we have a question in the chat about the heat maps. So do they differ between faculty perspective and administrator perspective? That 70% of the data is from administrator's perspective versus 20% from faculty.
I don't think there's a way to.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a way to look at that, although it's a little bit difficult. What I can tell you overall from the thoughts is when you look at them globally, there really is not much difference between faculty and administrator. Maybe a little bit of shuffling between what's top 1 or 2, but the same type of things come up with about the same frequency between the two, particularly since we had a lot of thoughts that were sort of redundant, very similar. I mean, the way they were phrased might have been preferred by faculty over administrator, but the thoughts were very, very much the same.
Okay, and then we had a follow-up saying it's good to know that those pretty much align.
Yes, it
It
is.
can be done. All right, so let's go to the next couple of scenarios. Okay, so we're gonna have two breakout rooms with this scenario, focusing on increasing interactions and reaching out. So the scenario is, I'm a research administrator at an institution with centralized research support. I've just been assigned a department that does not have a history of obtaining extramural support, and I am unfamiliar with the faculty in this department. What do I do and how should I do it? And then our final breakout room.
Oh,
Uh-oh, what happened to it? There we go. All right, so this is the third one. I'm the Departmental Research Administrator for highly funded research department. Because of the large number of grants being submitted, the VPR has instituted a strict internal deadline policy for grant submissions. We've got our senior investigators that have been ignoring this policy, leaving little time for me to do a thorough review of applications. I would like to prevent this from happening. What should I do and how should I do it? Now, you guys are going to be randomly assigned to these breakout rooms. And even though the first scenario is from a faculty perspective and the second two are administrative perspective, I want you guys to think from all sides. So if there's something that a faculty member can do to improve that research administrator experience, we want to hear from you. Same with the faculty. If you are, you're from the faculty perspective, but you've got this great idea that you think administrators can use, we want to hear all of that, because every single bit of it is going to increase our collaboration. So that is all we have for an intro. So Lily, are we ready to pop people into their breakout rooms?
We are ready. And just a quick note to all the facilitators, I was able to put you in the correct room. So just go ahead and accept it when you see that notification.
Before you do that, Lily, I would just like to add, I think it's important that when you get into your breakout rooms and the discussion gets going, the facilitators are going to try to lead you along the idea of coming up with specific actions, trying to change those thoughts into action items that can address these themes. And the scenarios are really there to help picture what types of actions or what types of circumstances those actions might be necessary. So, but we're really looking at a bigger picture theme type approach. Okay, thank you, Lily.
Thanks.
All right, if we're ready, I'll go ahead and open all the rooms. Hi, you both should have been placed in breakout rooms. If you wouldn't mind just accepting that assignment in the lower box. Hi, Jeff. Are you there? Jeff, are you there? Hi, Ryan. Are you there? I mean, Jeff. Jeff, are you there? Hi all, I'm putting you in breakout rooms, so if you can just accept the okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back out. We're just gonna wait for all the rooms to empty and then kind of regroup all together. You have to unmute yourself when you come into a new room.
Okay, we are all coming back.
That was a quick 15 minutes.
Steve,
That was really fast, wasn't it? Yeah.
oh, I will put my 2 in the chat.
Okay. And let me see if I can find out what we have. Oh boy, groups 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Why are these not updating for me?
We had a little interesting situation in room 3 that we were writing over each other.
Yeah, I
3 and
saw
4 writing
that.
over each other.
3 and 4 were using the same.
Yeah, Joan and I were writing on the same thing, but I separated us out. So
Group
All
1
right.
was amazing, and Susan was an amazing leader, and everybody should be
Okay, those are
congratulated who was in
our-
Group 1.
Those are our 2, Steve.
Okay, yeah. You put them in the chat. Let's see. Web hosted training materials. And what
And
else?
2 above it, assigned department mentor.
And you were group
2.
1.
2.
Wait, what was group 1?
We were Group 1.
Mark was group 1.
You want me to share also?
Please.
Okay, well, here was one. Remember, this was from the point of view of the faculty member. What can
Yeah.
the faculty member do?
Right.
I'm gonna
You have
throw
another?
I'm gonna throw 2 in there that are kind of related, though we did not have time to take a full vote, full disclosure.
Yeah, that's fine. These are 2 and 1, right?
Yeah, 2 in 1. So the basic point here was, first, you got to make sure that that there's sufficient resources, that the institution is providing opportunities and from the research admin side, and then the faculty member has to advocate for that and attend those things.
Right, let's see, group 3.
Group 3.
I'm just trying to copy and paste these back into some sense here. So back to 3 and 4, I'm trying to figure out where ours are. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and present yours to the group and why you came up with those as potential action items.
Oh, you
As
want
you
more
put it.
about group? You want more about Group 2? Oh, Group 1.
Group 1, yeah, group 1 first.
Yeah, and Susan can do it if you want.
Either
but
one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Susan. You were facilitating.
Okay, so again, as Mark said, we feel like it's important for the faculty to have access to the resources they need in order to be successful and to collaborate effectively with their administrators. So it's a kind of a circular feedback loop there where you have the faculty actually advocating on behalf of the administrators to have those resources, and then for the faculty to actually take advantage of those resources. So one thing that we thought was important in a scenario where you have only a central administration for grant support, that there be programs that are provided and that faculty do participate in. They can be things like lunches, tech transfer meetings, etc. One theme that came through consistently with all of our suggestions was the importance of direct interactive communication
between the administrator and the faculty member. And so there were different suggestions about how that could occur. Office hours, for example, or, you know, cohort development sessions for new faculty, that sort of thing. But all of it comes back to being able to have the resources to do that.
All right, and let's see, Kelly or David, can you talk about what you came up with?
Yeah, so just for the broader group, as a reminder, our breakout session was on an emerging research institution with a faculty member that didn't have departmental support, and you know, how do we get the right information to him so that he could be successful or she could be successful. We had a really good dialogue, and one of our action items was more from a departmental perspective, and one was more from the central office perspective. So the departmental perspective was to assign a departmental mentor who shares funding experience in that area that particular faculty member is interested in, so that they can see what a successful proposal looks like, so that they can talk through the processes with another faculty member. From the centralized office perspective, we were talking about how having a lot of really good online and web-based resources to help the faculty member understand the processes would be helpful. To Susan's comments, in an organization where there are limited resources, using the online resources to make them available to faculty members is a good use of resources, but it takes into consideration how busy our faculty members are, and they can go to those resources on a whenever their schedule allows it. One last comment that I'll share that was really excellent, even though our top two ended up being action items that don't really emphasize the interaction, the personal interaction between principal investigators and the research administrators. That's critical to developing relationships and promoting an appreciation between those. So we wanted to emphasize that you would still want to do those kind of activities.
Yeah, I think I missed there. All right, so does that look like I captured your groups 1 and 2 thoughts correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have advocate for department support for greater research administrative resources, outreach, take advantage on one-on-one customized interaction opportunities such as lunches, tech transfer meetings, assign departmental mentors, and web hosted training materials. And this was about increasing understanding and appreciation, how to make each other know what we do, understand who does what, when they do it, and the like. So for example, being a new faculty member who hasn't had a lot of support before. So I think the idea now is, if we can, how do we run a poll here, Lily? Did we have a poll for this? What we're going to try to do is just ask you to really have A through E. As a group, if people could choose one of those as their top pick as being one of the most important thing they think for increasing understanding and appreciation of each other. And please do not pick F. And we'll just give it a few seconds here. And we'll see how that comes out.
You have a question in the chat asking for elaboration on tech transfer meetings.
I think I can address that. So the idea was tech transfer is one of the offices that is often associated with research activity, but it may not be one that is very familiar to a faculty member. And so being able to support the interaction between the faculty member and the tech transfer office, leading to a good relationship, I think.
Okay.
Where do you select your choice?
How do you vote?
Yeah.
We can't.
You all are co-hosts. So
We're
yeah.
all
Oh,
we can't vote.
Sorry, this
Oh,
is for the attendees.
okay.
Got it. Makes sense.
And for the question in the chat, the poll is up. I think if you click maybe polling at the bottom of your screen, you might be able to see it. Might get pulled back up again.
One caution I would have here, Steve, especially, don't eliminate. There wasn't enough time to do a really good vote or to actually select the top ones. So don't lose any of them. We should.
We're not
revisit
losing any of these.
Good.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're just trying to put these into actionable things from high to low. And I think we will find some interaction, if you will, between the groups in terms of ideas. So
yeah,
we won't be losing any of this. All of these things were deemed important already, just by virtue of raising to this part. Okay, I think we probably need to cut this off and move on to the next bits, which is groups 3 and 4. And why can't I get out of that? So groups 3 and 4, we've got a little more than this, but I think we've got a couple ones. I haven't looked at these. So top ones came from group 3, I think, which is Suzanne. Are you able to go over those?
No, those are not ours.
I think ours. Can I share? See?
Yeah, go ahead. So yes, we got blended in the.
Yeah, we got a little blended in our.
Okay, can you see my screen?
I can.
Yes. Okay, so this was our scenario about increasing interactions and reaching out.
Yeah.
And let's see.
There we go.
These are ours, and there's quite a few here, but a lot of talk about again, reaching out to the faculty one-on-one. And really, I think I would summarize, if I had to pick 2 out of this, we talked a lot about one-on-one and human interaction and making actual human one-on-one connection, and administrators taking the time to learn about the faculty area of research, and to keep things informal and maintain a sense of humor about things. I think we all get stuck in the machine of grants, submission and management, but making it a more human interaction to support the faculty is good. And
so Steve, I'm going to post in the chat directly to you our top 2. Well, while Lynette is speaking.
All right, let me go back to this one then.
And I just think it was a lot of, so it's a new, going back to our scenario, it's assigned to a department that does not have a history of obtaining extramural support. So reaching out to that department to learn about their areas of research of the faculty, what logical agencies they would submit to, so that you can target the education and support for them, things like that.
And send them chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, and chocolate. Okay, yes, we've talked about a lot of quite a few informal ways to acknowledge, success, awards, and again, help create that human connection.
Right. Okay. So
I think that was it for us. So I'm not sharing anymore. Suzanne or group, did I miss anything?
Just your cat is starring in the show.
This is Max, one of the twins.
all right, so I'm gonna put this up. I hope this is. I think we've got, sorry for the formatting. So we've got from group 3, keep it human, have a sense of humor, be proactive, what does that say? Learn proactively about the faculty and their area of research. From our group, we had, again, trying to figure out, which would really amount to interacting, why what's the source of the issue? So we would need a sort of an educational component as to whether or not the lack of funding is a result of not submitting or not being awarded, because that will really help drive how this research administrator would have to interact. We thought they could get that through regular meetings with the department chair, that was a great way of figuring out and learning about the department, its mission of the individual faculty. We thought that having that type of information would be good to then present at a department faculty meeting, someplace where the faculty are required to attend, get even just to introduce yourself, what you do, ask for what they need, sort of as an interaction point, and really to adopt sort of an educational role. Look up grant opportunities, know your audience and what kinds of grants you can present them with. You might know better how to find out where, search for resources of grant opportunities and present them to the faculty. So those are the ones that we came up with. And I think we will just go ahead and poll from here. Pick A, B, C, D, E, or F. C is more of a educational kind of component as well. And we'll leave this up for a second.
And again, Steve, you're asking them to poll the top two?
The top one, pick their top one.
Top one.
In the poll, pick the one you think is most important. We know they're all going to be to varying degrees important. Let's figure out what the top one is, so that and we'll get ratings from there down. Okay, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's end this poll. It looks like E was the top one, just beating out B, which is good. So present at faculty meetings and learn about the faculty as being the big top two things. Groups 5 and 6. Let's see if I can put this together. We'll take communication, action, ensure PI. Let's have top group 5 really quickly. Who was leading this one? David, you want to talk about these and how you came up with them?
Okay, well, the main theme, several variations of it, was to establish a timeline or a checklist that has deadlines in it and make sure that everybody is aware of it. Related to that was the idea of making the overall process, in other words, progress through this timeline, transparent, so that the faculty know exactly when administration has actually touched their grant, and you can see the progress of every step of the process that everybody's aware of. And the third one that came up in the chat just at the very end, but I'm going to take this home to my department, is invite departmental administrators to attend faculty meetings and actually give overviews. Very briefly, that's what we talked about. There was an interesting discussion about what timeliness means to faculty and administrators at the very end that I wish we could have continued, but it was a short 15 minutes.
Yes, it was. Okay, group 6. Can you run us through this? Was that?
That's me. Yeah. Our 15 minutes was even shorter. And we didn't necessarily come up with too many hard answers. We talked about the problem a lot. The top vote getter for us in our group was to ensure the PI is aware of the deadline. Communicate very clearly the deadlines, make sure they understand it. And kind of a sidebar of that conversation was for those proposals that still come in late, to flag them as being proposals at risk, and just knowing that that is out there so you can track them in that context.
Right.
The next one was we talked a lot about the understaffing and so on and so forth, but it was basically to divide the responsibilities. You want to maintain at least one day of advance notice, but it also divide the responsibilities amongst different people. And then the next one down the list was the one that I actually liked, which was the named and shamed approach, which is let other faculty know within the department which faculty are complying, which faculty are not. And so if if your proposal is getting bumped because someone else is being late, let them know that. And someone did put in the chat that they tried it and it actually backfired. That once the other faculty found out that the other people were late, they started being late too because they realized it could be. So it could backfire. But I still like that idea of making the PIs aware of who is complying and who is not. We talked a little bit also in other ones about this, the psychological aspect of it. People are under pressure, and you can't look at this as being a personal type of a thing. You have to realize it's a process and that things need to get done. I think that's basically the summary of the actions.
Okay. So I think I copied these into an overall thing here for the top actions then from group 5 and 6. Setting up schedules and creating checklists, making the review process transparent, having administrators attend faculty meetings, understanding administrative activities and making sure the PIs are aware of the deadlines, making sure there's advance notice, at least one day going out. They don't abide by it. And then the last one, point fingers at the people who are late. No, fine point on late turn-ins, bumping, put guys pressure on each other, let them know that people are being late and not abiding by the rules. So the vote is open. Pick your top one. And we're halfway there, okay.
Seeing a trend here, Steve.
Yeah.
Every group talks about going to faculty meetings. And
Yeah,
presenting.
I thought we would begin to see some.
Which, you know, it kind of begs the irony that at FDP, there's a separate faculty meeting that admins don't attend.
Yeah. We'll let you bring that up at, where's Lynn? Action item for the next executive.
However, that's how a lot of us got involved, in fact, was by showing up at a faculty meeting where it was being discussed.
That's almost the way FACT got born, actually. It was out of those types of interactions. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And looks like C beat out B on this one by a hair. Okay, so we got through that, and I apologize, it wasn't quite as long as we had hoped. We sort of hoped for an hour-and-a-half meeting, but we didn't get it. I think, though, we did get a lot, we did convert a lot of those thoughts, which we collected up front in the thought exchange, into, you know, action type things, what we would like to see happen. And our next steps really are going to be, how do we make these things happen? What's holding us back? And in particular, since there's such pretty good agreement across the issues and thoughts about what the actions might be. And I think what we'll be doing, since we're at the top of the hour, is using what we learned here about what you all thought and ranked as, oh, look at that. You can run over it by 5 minutes. So I guess what we'll do is we'll run over by 5 minutes. is try to figure out how to convert this and some of these top things into our next thought exchange, because I think that's a great way of reaching out to many of you in getting a lot of feedback that then we can hone at our next meeting about the barriers and the activities. But it sounds like we got some good ones that are easy fixes. Ultimately, we're aiming for a sort of a page of a white page or a little pamphlet that we can hand to people and say, hey, this is what people think are really important. This is what you can take back to your institution, and what other institutions, other researchers, other research administrators are thinking are really important for success or for diminishing administrative burden. So with that, I'm going to shut up and see if anybody has either on the panel here or from
There's
the
a
audience.
couple of comments in the chat, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
I'll
you
go ahead and read those. Particularly in the first two scenarios, do recommended actions need change for PUIs and smaller institutions without department administrators? Yes. And we want to hear more about that. You've just opened up a total additional thought exchange for us. Then Jackie adds, in today's environment, naming and shaming would likely result in complaints to HR. So be careful if you don't have tenure.
Right. Yeah, I think the idea there isn't so much about naming and shaming as it would be more of a peer pressure type of an approach, making sure that people are aware of the process. It goes back almost to that transparency. So the faculty, one faculty member isn't going to sit tight while another one gets special treatment. But
yeah, they are.
I do like the name and shame, but as a thought, but yeah, peer pressure. How's that?
Much better, peer pressure.
First in, first out type model. That is a good type of an approach potentially for timeliness. Of course, it's like our institution, $25,000 proposal versus a $2 million proposal. It's not really going to matter which one's first in, first out. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody on the committees have anything that they'd like to add to what we came up with?
I think the thing that came out of our discussion that relates to everything that was just said is that we have to think of research administrators and faculty as being on the same team with the same goals, and that this notion of making sure there are sufficient resources. It's to the faculty advantage to have the infrastructure to get their work done, and it's to the research administrator advantage to get those resources and use them to provide local support. So we're on the same team here. We're not, there's really not a competition.
Well said, well said. And I think that's why we actually identify the same ideas, the same thoughts. We kind of know the problem, and it's making sure we have what we need. It may come down to making sure we have what we need to build these interactions that we know we need. We all want.
And Steve, do we want to or Suzanne, do we want to mention that there are opportunities to, if you have a faculty member and a administrative member at your institution, to interact with FACT more closely and become part of the team?
Absolutely. There are a couple of ways that you can get involved. First is if you're not willing to commit time and energy and your cohort at your institution, you can sign up for the FDP Open Listserv. So that can just get you kind of on the front line of things. We are going to actually have a FACT working group meeting next Tuesday to kind of do a postmortem of this group meeting today. We all appreciate you being here. If anyone would like to join FACT, if you have an admin and a faculty rep at your institution that would both like to join, that is our preference. We can also look at some alternative arrangements. So give us, let's see. Yep, I was about to see if Steve had posted our email addresses here. So you can email Steve and/or me. And we will bring that back to the working group. And
I'd also like to point out that there was a survey that went out. We were told
Yes.
the other day that survey about volunteer opportunities within FACT as a whole is still up. If you look back through your email, we did have, in fact, as you could have listed, if you did list there, we should be hearing about that. We haven't yet because the survey is still going on, but that's another place where you can put in to show your interest in either FACT or other committees, and they were really encouraging people to do that. So look for that
And
email.
just to add to that, Steve and Suzanne, I've started looking at that data, and I'm talking to Jason and Michael, the co-chairs of that volunteer engagement group, to get that information. And there was like 43 people that expressed interest in FACT. So we'll start looking through that data. So if one of you expressed interest there, we've got your information.
Okay, we're 5 minutes over. So I think I'm just going to round it up. I'm going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to our FACT facilitators, our FACT committee. Thank you to everybody who participated in the thought exchange. This is what it can lead to. Be looking for more coming from us, and apparently other groups now are beginning to use it. It's a great way in this virtual world to get some information up front. So please fill that in. It is very helpful. And if you wish to join us, please let us know.
Yeah, big thank